Have you ever been so deep into a project, you suddenly realize you're in so deep, over your head, overextended, beyond your available knowledge and financial resources? It was Thomas Paine who once said, "These are the times that try men's souls." The summer soldier, the summer patriot, will, in this crisis, shrink from the battle. Failure, like hell, is not easily conquered, and yet the harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph. What we obtain too cheaply, we esteem too lightly. It is only in the struggle that achievement has value, the reason why success is highly rated. What do you do when you have a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day? Maybe you just feel like you're hitting a brick wall. Maybe you feel like you're just one major setback away from going under financially or emotionally. To press on, one agonizing step, one setback after another, wondering if you'll ever reach your destination, or just toss in the towel, abandon ship, crack open a beer and watch TV instead. At what point do you say, retreat? Failure is not an option. Jesus himself promised us that in this world you will have trouble. Boy, was he right. So I'll let you know how all this turned out in the end, so let's go ahead and dive right in. Well, if I painted kind of a gloomy picture there, it's because I want you to know that this stuff isn't easy. And I think that most of you that have worked on your bikes know that this stuff takes time. It takes patience. It takes money. And sometimes takes a dogged determination to get a project finished and finished right, and not done in a rush. One thing I have learned is to take a lot of pictures because my memory is not what it used to be. And as you all know, it's far easier to take things apart than it is to put them back together. By no means do I have this engine project fully documented from start to finish. This is going to be more of an overview of what it was like to do this and a few of the problems that I ran into. Okay, so nice to see pistons in decent shape, not too bad. Head looks good. Diagnose that color later. A little bit of carbon here and there, but and then you can see we're inside where we matched up that boot to match the port, but we're gonna open up that port a little more, I think. And the cylinder, not bad, decent shape, looks pretty good. No scratches. Cam was all in good shape. Overall, this engine is in really good shape. So I'm thinking if I'm going to be doing all this work, I probably shouldn't have a bunch of carboned up ports. And while I'm at it, why not open up these ports a little bit in order to handle the extra added displacement and extra valve lift? They all kind of go together. The porting, the added displacement, the higher cam lobe, the larger intake track. It all works together for a package. The problem with the CRF230 is that it has a very choked off intake tract. The exhaust tract is really not that bad. It just needed some smoothing out and cleaning up. It was the intake that really needed to be opened up. Now luckily I have a friend who works at a machine shop, the father and son team of Jack and John Nagelson. Father, Jack, he's been doing this stuff for 35 years. Car engines, boat engines, dragsters, sprint cars. This was just child's play for him. It was kind of like working with toys.
Now we're going to pull the throat angle out. See, now we got our CR45 right there. We have our
So his philosophy is just to smooth out the port and not take out a major amount of metal because it's just such a tiny workspace. The ports are pretty small. The exhaust tract is really not that bad. It just needed some smoothing out and cleaning up. It was the intake that really needed to be opened up. John's philosophy is not to take out gobs of metal. More, it's just to smooth out the intake tract and retain its velocity. Jack is a pretty smart guy. It's not everybody that can build their own flow bench tester. Jack was able to coax out another approximately 20% of flow rate, which is really significant, and it'll all hopefully come together as a package. He also bored out the cylinder. As you know, earlier we had taken off and machined the flywheel and taken off almost a pound of weight. While we were there, we added a +4 degree Woodruff key in order to coax out 4 degrees of advanced timing, which is the only way you can get advanced timing with this. Meanwhile, I was slotting out my cam chain gear in order to gain a little bit of adjustment. In so doing, we thought it was advantageous to have an adjustable cam gear that we could dial in the cam timing. And of course, checking the valve clearance with some clay to check the valve piston clearance, which is critical. At this point, I was only about 2 weeks out from racing Glen Helen and time was running out. I had to get this thing together. Time was of the essence. All of a sudden, the first disaster. I mistakenly used the wrong solvent to clean the head. I thought I would soak the cylinder head overnight just to get all the gunk off of it. Big mistake, I used the wrong type of solvent. Don't ever use this type of solvent on any aluminum on your motorcycle. In fact, don't even use this stuff. It almost completely ruined the head. It etched into the combustion chamber pretty bad. It didn't hurt any of the steel, but it did eat away at the aluminum. I couldn't afford to buy a new cylinder head, and besides, there wasn't enough time anyway. Now, I had to use a lot of copper gasket spray and just hope for the best. And so I took a lot of care and I just did the job very methodically. It's extremely important to gap the piston rings and to make sure that they're in the proper placement. It's easy to get the wrong ring on top or vice versa. So pay attention, read the directions, get the oil ring right, get the end gap dialed in. And of course, generously lube that cam. Lots of lube. Of course, you always torque to spec. Make sure the threads are oiled. Being able to picture in your mind the components all doing their individual tasks, spinning, turning, combusting, you understand what's actually happening in the engine, not some motor thingy performing magic. You actually enjoy its performance more because you now understand exactly how it works. Some things I did not replace were the cam gear. The cam tensioners themselves were in great shape, so I reused those. I used the cam chain, appeared to be great. Probably should have replaced it, but I just didn't do it. If I ever take it apart again, I'll definitely replace the cam chain. This engine really doesn't have a lot of hours on it. If this engine had more hours on it, I would replace the cam chain as well. The cam gear did not look worn at all, so that told me that the cam chain was in pretty good shape. There's just something more satisfying about doing it yourself. Besides the obvious savings of your hard-earned cash, it's also knowing you probably didn't take the shortcuts that the hired hand might take. And you, although maybe not doing the job as fast or efficient, you know that you actually did the job right. I will say that this project is doable for the average mechanic with average tools. You are going to need a little bit of help from a bike shop or a machine shop. I really don't see any way around that, but I believe you can do the majority of the labor yourself. And the main thing to always remember is to always expect the unexpected. And so this is just an example of the unexpected crap that you're going to deal with. Is I snapped off the bolt here, almost all done, putting the screw in, snapped it off. We're now going to put a little slot in this thing so we can try to back it out, hopefully. Wish me luck. With just the right screwdriver to fit that little slot, maybe a little deeper. At least we got the cover off, but now we've got the screw broken off inside. So the old slot cut didn't work because the aluminum screw is soft, so that doesn't work. So we're gonna have to resort to the old easy out. It's just the way things go, you know? So yeah, you think, oh, you know, you just do it, get an easy out in there, and you just use the easy out to get it out. How steel breaks off into aluminum, I don't know, but I've got a big problem now. So now what? How would you fix this? And so here we are with the broken off easy out now, broken off inside the hole. So diamond tipped carbide bits drilling into the center of the bolt. Okay, so after hours of drilling, I finally got all the pieces of the easy out, which easy out, I think it's carbide. No, it's not even carbide. Anyway, it's very, very hard. You're not going to be able to drill through it with regular drill bits to drill through the backside. So I had to use these little diamond tip. I had to buy a pack of 20 for like 10 bucks. They're cheap. But anyway, so now I'm going to very carefully chase what's left of the threads and basically re-thread this thing. Being careful not to break off the tap in the hole, right? I'm just being very gentle with it. This is only aluminum. There's still some pieces of that easy out in there, so I have to be very careful. Just a little bit at a time, back off. A little bit at a time, back off, and so on. And I did use a magnet to get any kind of metal dust out of the hole. Little metal magnets do magic. I forget what you call these. They're very strong. I think they're called earth magnets. Super strong. Anyway, they work great for little metal shavings. And the tape picks up the rest. And we're now back in business. Back where we started several hours ago. You know, sometimes you have setbacks. What can I say about that? Setbacks are inevitable. They always happen. So you just got to keep pushing through. Okay, so it's complete. It runs. didn't get a chance to really give it a good break in. I didn't get much time to really dial in the engine or the carburation. I was able to get it running pretty good. It ran really strong. And then the next week was Glen Helen. Really pulled the hills nicely. I was really pleased. Still had some troubles on my starts. I'm going to be adding some more power, believe it or not. I'll admit I did not get the massive gains I hoped for. And yet, it sure is a much funner bike to ride now. The thing really gets up and goes now. I felt like I may have lost a little of that magic 230 low-end grunt it's known for, but I really didn't lose it. I just didn't gain much low-end torque. I think it just feels more lost in the feeling of a greater mid-range and top-end hit, which was really what I needed for racing this thing. I found the more aggressively I rode it, the better it responded. It went from a mild-mannered mule to a very perky pony. Truth is, it's simply not going to ever keep up with the CRF230R, which is a whole different animal, and a much more expensive animal, or likely even a 150R, though I am interested in doing a drag race comparison between the 230 and the 150R. Any takers out there? So just remember, sometimes when you're down and things aren't looking good, just know that sometimes all it takes is a little hard work, determination, and a good friend. Thanks for watching.